this is, I think, something, and excuse me for going on for a moment here.
Go ahead.
But I mean, so we have a meeting August the 8th in Austin, Texas, and the State Commission on Judicial Conduct will be hearing testimony from the public. I used to think, the same way that you did, that if you are honest, if you tell the truth before the judge, you bring forth the facts, the judge would listen impartially. They don't. And then, so because of this, I had a judge, and I told you, in Justice of the Peace, Jack James of Rockwall, Texas, he suppressed evidence. He said that he was done beating me up. He said this verbally. He would not take the time to read 18 pages of a transcript because he was not going to waste his weekend reading a transcript. He did other things too. He didn't even acknowledge that he had jurisdiction in the case. He had to look up the statute. He'd already had 130 cases. Did he not know in these other 130 cases that he had jurisdiction? I did everything by the book. And this injustice, I know, everything by the book. And like I said, this injustice of the peace, Jack James, he decided, like you said, today is not Friday, it's Wednesday.
Right.
There is, rule of law. Rule of law is what I say it is. He lied to me afterwards in court too. It is an illusion. It's a sham court. It's an illusion of justice. It's a kangaroo court would be a better court to go to.
Right.
But anyway, I'm sorry.
Well, no, because that goes really in line with what I was saying, that she was assigned initially $720.
That she had to pay.
That she would have had to pay, and I forgot how many arrears. And
there's another.
At the time, she wasn't
thing.
working. She lost her job before she went into court. She lost her job. She came in without a job. I mean, because of the trauma that she suffered.
Right.
Plus, she was working for a friend of the family. So and the federal guidelines for North Carolina, I think it's $50 per month per child if you're not working, if you don't have a job. So here they broke another,
law
rule, right there, $720.
It's Wednesday. It's not Friday. It's Wednesday.
Yeah. And and she lost everything, which she, like I said, she really didn't want anything, including child support, as long as she had her child, which he was okay. And that's what you meant when he said he didn't want his child, because he was okay with it. He didn't really argue it.
Yeah.
But the conditions were, as long as you let her see my dad. And I would have said, as long as you let me see her and my dad. But he only thought of his dad.
Yeah.
And, he was assured and all that.
Yeah.
That, of course. And he knows my daughter well enough.
Yeah.
I don't mention any names because, again, like I told you before, I have not spoken with my daughter about it. She gets on Facebook maybe once every 6 months.
Yeah.
For just a few minutes, and that's it. And but I feel I have a moral obligation because to all these parents and children, because I started researching, and all of a sudden all these things started popping up with people, alienation, all of these injustice done to other people. Then I found out that there was a movement with millions of people, really.
Yeah.
And I've gotten to know Diane Lyons, Neil Shelton, who happens to have one of the same judges that my daughter.
Oh, he had one of your. Really?
When they went judge shopping,
Straight out of Mayberry.
It was very, very obvious that they were very familiar with this judge that they brought in.
Yeah.
And at that time, when she decreed, which was right after my daughter finally got to speak up and did a wonderful job exposing everything.
Yeah.
And she didn't even present all the evidence she had. The next time they met, not only he had his lawyer with him, but another lawyer, and I guess these are the best in town.
Well, they could afford him.
So he had two lawyers standing on each side, and they argued the case about King Solomon, how they knew that they were making the right decision for their client because of what King Solomon did. And,
you know what? I know the story. I know exactly the story.
And and then they turned around and they said, and his uncle is so and so. I'm not going to mention names or even the court or the county, because this is my opinion again, and what I have observed personally.
Yeah.
And so it's like, of course, he should have this child because, his uncle is who he is and he's right there, So it was very, very partial.
I think what you said earlier, though, is that your wife's ex-husband's father saw this same type of injustice play out when he was a child. Because his father went through something similar in which his father's ex-wife did some things to him that you would say were unjust. So the injustice is being perpetrated and actually being increased and multiplied throughout the generations. That's why we need to stop some of these things. And let me just go back.
It was actually her ex that went through this. His parents were divorced. And
okay,
yes,
I misunderstood that then.
Yes, it was her ex that went through this as a child. His parents were divorced. And I don't know the whole story. I know some of it. But apparently it sounds to me that the mother came back wanting more child support. And that's why his family encouraged him. So this is really all about child support.
A lot of it is, yes.
He was afraid that she would come back later to ask for child support. His family warned that all women say they don't want child support initially, but come back and want it. So child support, because everything else just pointed to the fact that he did not want to save this marriage. And again, it was not brought up in court.
But he didn't even want that. He didn't even want us.
But all the evidence points to it because I did a little research. And what I suspected eventually became a reality. And I told my husband way in advance. I said, just give me time and I will prove to you that this is what's going on.
And I mean, the thing is, when some people say a little research, sometimes that little research only means turning the page.
Oh, yes.
Opening the cover of the book.
Yes.
That's how blatant it is.
Yes.
And yet the judges, I am not going to turn that page of the book lest I see something that I don't want to see that might interfere with my decree.
Right. I saw red flags from the very beginning, but I thought, they're of a different culture, they're from the South, and maybe that's how they do things. But then all those red flags became one big red flag. And who goes away on weekends after working hard all week long? You want to be with your family. But so weekends were, taken away from the family and abandoning the family, all of that, and not wanting to save the marriage, not going to counseling to save the marriage. So
and that is a very reasonable request that a defendant should at least be able to offer. Your Honor, I think this marriage is salvageable. Would you please order counseling? And a judge could do that. But the divorce attorneys don't make as much money that way. You know that. Well,
his divorce attorney said to one of our fired up attorney who was going to go in there and present all these contempt of court, he says there's no way in paradise that you're going to win this case, so just give up. And, that's what he told her, and she relayed that to us.
I understand what you're saying there. When I went through divorce, I was in the same situation that, I could have tried to fight it, but really, it's already decreed by the legislature. It was decreed, and it's also decreed by the state. It's written into law. This is the way it's going to be. There's nothing you can do.
The state does not hold them accountable.
Well, and the state actually endorses it because that is what the law says. And that's where the injustice comes in. So all of these divorce attorneys that we will defend you, they're lying to you. They can't, all they're going to do is try to negotiate a settlement. They can't stop the charge, which often is based on false claims. It can be based on perjury, but you have to pay for the other person's perjury.
No attorney to date has represented us the way that they have promised to represent us. So I'm very disappointed in attorneys in general. We have one that is presently working on it. He says he's working on it, but I haven't seen anything happen yet.
So let me
got
take this.
derailed too, with the federal courts.